Thumbs up, hold.
Go.
All right, I'm Will, this is Nick, this is Lydia, and this is Denasia, and we are DigiDesk. So picture this for a second. Imagine you're a college student and you walk into a 200 plus person lecture hall, and you sit down and you open up your things and you realize there's not enough space for your notebook, your computer, or your water. On top of this, imagine that you pull out your computer and your computer is dead and there are no outlets around you to plug in. And on top of that, there is a group behind you speaking and you can't pay attention to what's happening in the lecture and you can't properly learn.
Although this may sound like an outlandish or unrealistic scenario that we just came up with, this is not the case, as we actually went out and interviewed people within our community and at UNC itself. These are just some actually specific quotes that we got from UNC students, in which they claim that the lack of space to write is awkward, deters me from using both a laptop and a notebook, as well as there are plenty of students that claim that the lack of outlets make me annoyed and make me feel a sense of insecurity due to the inability to charge your devices while in the classroom. And so, based on these interviews and what we had seen from our users, we believe there are three main pain points. First is that it's extremely uncomfortable to sit in these small desks in these large classrooms. Second is that there's tons of distractions. And third is that there's clearly a lack of accessible resources.
So, as you can see up here, and where Lydia is right here, this is the DigiDesk after multiple prototypes and trial and error and talking to our potential users, aka college students. We've sort of designed something specifically for UNC Chapel Hill, but also could be brought into other like Sakai and Canvas and other things that other universities use. Here's like a little cupboard area in the top right corner. Here's a little like pin that you'll be using for the touchscreen. And then over here you have two USB, access to two USB ports, and a 3-prong plug-in. And then here's our little like adjustability lever. So like for taller people such as myself, my legs aren't hitting up underneath the desk and it's kind of like pushing it up. It's pretty annoying. Here's an example of like how we have it. Like we have multiple different apps that you can use. Here's Sakai for like a UNC student. You can go into other different apps such as Pull Everywhere and be able to use it in class. And then you can split screen it to where you can be able to take notes and write like Notability like a normal iPad. And then also on the other side, you can be able to have like your lectures set up from Sakai and have multiple different things running at once. But also that all comes together, and when you log out, it saves into your Sakai. So you can go and access all of this outside the classroom for further studies and visual stuff. Okay, next is our unique value proposition. There's really nothing like this. I mean, like, there's obviously like nicer desks that have plugins and are a little bit bigger, but there's nothing that has a digital space that's all connected within itself. Like, students aren't gonna have to have iPads as much, and they're not gonna have to carry around as much stuff. So it's just like notebooks, it can kind of rid that whole entire sector. And comparative to laptops, we think that students will like it more because they can have split screens and it'll be more connected to the actual professor. So it's just like in a Pull Everywhere, no one needs to pull out their phone or anything, it'll automatically pop up. And then one of the most important things is that a teacher can prevent cheating by like cutting off like that or internet access to where students will only be able to like operate in that app.
So based off the need that we have seen through our users, we've actually gone out and been able to observe that there's a clear market size for this, meaning there's a feasible idea that this is something that's needed within the space of the university itself. And so we actually used UNC as one of our mock-ups, in which on campus we have eight plus large lecture halls containing 200 plus individual desks in each lecture hall, meaning that roughly each university will require about 2,000 desks itself. And so across across the United States, there's over 1,600 plus public universities. And so as far as the product itself, we've kind of broken it down into three main aspects, in which we have the tablet, which is roughly $200, the desk, which is $250, and the pen, which is $30. This comes out to a total of $480, and we plan to price each unit at $700. This brings us to a total of a $220 profit per unit of the desk. So as far as some of the plans we have for the desk itself, our goal is in our first year of production to reach 4,000 users, which is approximately two universities. And then moving on from this, in our second year of operation, we plan to reach about 8,000 universities, which is an additional 4 universities. And then in our final year, we hope to reach 12,000 users, or 6 universities, totaling 12 universities over the course of our 3 years. So based on our market scope, as well as the finances of a $700 desk and $220 profit per unit, we predict that we will have $2.8 million in revenue in 2023, $5.6 million in 2024, and $8.4 million in 2025. And so once we account for all the costs, such as wages, rent, and other miscellaneous items, we predict that in year 1, we will be in a deficit of about $8,500, which we'll have to take a line of credit out. But considering this is a high technology product, this was expected. But following in 2024, we expect to be back in profit with $437,000, and then by 2025, we're hoping to rein in about $1.2 million.
Yep, that's it.
Questions?
So with the pen, like, can any stylus work, or is it exclusive, like a pen's made just for that desk?
No, it's the special, like, it's like an Apple pen, sort of, so it'll like specially be made for that like touchscreen. And also, like, I didn't fully mention it, but like it'll be interconnected right here, like through a little rope attachment, and we put it in the middle so like people left-handed and right-handed can both use it, and you can kind of get out of the way. But yeah, that's like one of the main things that we're thinking about, is that like those can get lost and all sorts of things, but hopefully our system has sort of prevented all this stuff.
As for like wear and tear and breaking, like, are you going to provide someone that, or the company to like fix it, or the university's going to have to hire someone to do that?
Yeah, so that's actually, we accounted for that in our expenses, and so we actually have a repair and maintenance expense that we've kind of factored in. And so basically, based on our product and its replaceable like asset cost, we've factored in a certain percentage of that money that we're going to allocate towards expenses for 2023, 2024, and 2025. And so that's all within our financial statement.
Can you go over one more time? So how much money are you asking for to get started?
Right here, $100,000. Well, that $100,000 isn't what we're like all asking for totally together. It's gonna be broken up in many different pieces, but we expected us to all be able to contribute around like between $5,000 and $10,000. And then what our like main contribution of money is, we're expecting like $40,000 from the Department of Education, like U.S. Department of Education. So we think this is like a viable opportunity to bring a lot of resources that will keep people engaged and allow like higher levels of learning. So that's another one. And then angel investors, such as like our families and our outreach of our whole business, we figured that we could raise at least like 20 grand out of that. So we figured that 100 grand was a pretty good number for us to reach.
Are you going to provide or train like IT professionals or anything like that to get over the learning curve of students?
Well, we do have IT professionals. We have an IT management team, in which we had predicted in the first year we'll have about 3 individuals, the next year 5, and then by the third year we'll have about 10 IT individuals. As far as the training process, they'll be completely available on call to assist in any sort of communication or questions that teachers, professors, or students may have. So
Yeah, as you were saying, like, I mean, we're only expecting to be in about probably total about 16 lecture halls the first year, And we were thinking that our first two universities, considering where we are in the triangle, like us and NC State would be two really good ones to go after. And then our IT people would be working in the triangle, so our 3 IT people could be able to cover 16 whole lecture halls, and that's on top of the, the information that they'll give the professors prior to.
Nice job. Thank you very much.